What's up, Giant fans? Welcome back to another Big Blue Avenue video. And in this video, we're going to discuss the Giants extending defensive lineman Leonard Williams and signing wide receiver John Ross today in free agency. But first off, I want to introduce my guest, Kyle Russo. Kyle, before we get started, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, Tom. Giants making some moves, putting their name out there.
Yeah, no, for sure they are. And I just want to let you all know, subscribe to us below on our ticker, Big Blue Avenue on Instagram and Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Big Blue Avenue. We're going to be having Kyle on a lot during the off season and having some guests as well. So looking forward to that as we get closer to the draft and through free agency. But the first big news is the Giants extend defensive lineman Leonard Williams to a 3-year, $63 million deal. And this deal is $45 million guaranteed. His cap number shrinks from $19 million to $11 million in 2021, giving the Giants some flexibility to operate in free agency. The Giants, though, what I found interesting today, because when I first read it, I think you and I both thought, well, they're going to backload the contract. What I'm reading now is this $22.5 million signing bonus could help reduce the cap hit in the following 2 years as well. So I kind of want to get your initial thoughts and what you think of this Leonard Williams deal. I think this is a very important player to have.
I think he's definitely an important player. It's somebody you couldn't lose, as he did have 11 and a half sacks last season. And he kind of answered the problems in which the Giants had at the edge rusher position, and he kind of solidified that position for the team under Patrick Graham in his first-year system, running the defense. Was it an overpay? I don't know if that could be argued, considering that the Giants, all you heard was they wanted to stay below $19 million. And based on the annual average, just doing math-wise, it comes out to $21 a year, which is something that they definitely overpaid with. But again, you had to keep this player on. There's no argument for it. Again, I know that me and you went back and forth. My prime thing was that, again, if the Giants didn't want to do that, they shouldn't have overpaid. Tag them for a week, maybe flip them, make a profit on him, considering that Dave Gettleman did give up a third and a fifth a couple years back. Probably get a second or third for him. Do that before free agency officially becomes official. Get a guy back like Dalvin, who's really a cornerstone defensive tackle for them. Solidify the run defense. Get a solidified number one receiver in there for DJ to have for the future, and maybe a Galladay, and have the ability to still have some money and some room to bring back a backup running back that solidified the starting position fairly nicely in Wayne Gallman last offseason. That would have been my optimal position if they didn't want to overpay. They overpaid, but again, you cannot replace, Tom, you know this, you cannot replace 11 and a half sacks. That's bottom line the fact. You just can't do it. There aren't guys out there cheaper to replace that for you.
I think the biggest thing, too, is when we talk about Leonard Williams, once Dalvin Tomlinson signed with the Vikings yesterday, we knew that Leonard Williams gained a lot of leverage with the Giants, and the Giants needed to cough up some money. I'd rather be sitting here now talking about overpaying for Leonard Williams rather than sitting here saying, well, we lost both of our top two offseason priorities. So what makes Leonard Williams really special to me is he's an interior defender who can stop the run but can also get you double-digit sacks because he's not a traditional edge rusher. He's more of that edge guy on the defensive line in Patrick Graham's 3-4 scheme, where he can maximize the capabilities of Leonard Williams. You can't find a guy who can stop the run as high as Leonard Williams can and get double-digit sacks like that. Williams is very versatile, fits the scheme. Patrick Graham is able to innovate and disguise coverages and create mismatches defensively because of a guy like Leonard Williams. As where with Dalvin Tomlinson, you knew what he was. He's a nose tackle. Leonard Williams is a really good bull rusher, too, that I think the scheme is built for him to flourish. And another thing, too, that we didn't touch upon yet is Dalvin Tomlinson was a pre-Dave Gettleman guy. Leonard Williams was a guy Gettleman went out to get. And Tomlinson, his departure, makes a lot of sense, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I was thinking about that all day this morning, too, just trying to think of the players left on this roster that were still here prior to Dave Gettleman's arrival, and the only one that I could think off the top of my head is Sterling Shepard. I don't personally know if there's and Evan Ingram. Aside from those two guys, I don't know if there is anybody left.
No, so there was four heading into this past season. Tomlinson was the third. Gallman was the fourth.
So then
Gallman
officially
was
only two then.
17.
So only
Yeah,
two then. Yeah,
so only
insane.
two because Booker confirms Gallman's not coming back. So yeah, it's crazy, but I think Leonard Williams, hopefully he gets more than 11 and a half sacks. It'll be interesting to see how Tomlinson being gone impacts Leonard Williams because I think, the Giants will probably address this position in the draft, the defensive tackle position. I don't think they would want to sign a guy like a Jarrell Casey or Jonathan Hankins in free agency. Maybe they would be more used as a stopgap. Personally, I don't think we have the money to sign any of those guys. I think we can get a defensive tackle in the second or third round, maybe, where I think now that we signed Leonard Williams and let go of Dalvin Thompson. Look, there was no way we were going to keep both, especially with the cap shooting down to 182.5 million. But now the Giants put themselves in a position where you probably are thinking about getting a skilled player at 11. And we'll talk about the draft as we get closer to it, but you can probably replace Dalvin Tomlinson in the second or third round, as where you can't do that with Leonard Williams. It's very unlikely. It's more likely you could replace Tomlinson than Leonard Williams in the early to mid round. So to me, it makes a lot of sense. I know people were talking about trading, resigning the tag. I didn't necessarily agree with resigning the tag because then you allow him to hit the open market. But yeah, so Leonard Williams is a Giant. I'm happy Big Cat is back, but yeah, he sure did get the bag.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nothing really much more to say. I know we're talking about defensive tackles replacements. They run a 3-4 as far as I'm concerned. They ran a 4-3 sometimes, but mostly a 3-4. So Dexter's going to have to be that guy to essentially really step up if they don't necessarily, because I know they brought back Austin Johnson, so I would assume that might be those three guys right there on that front line potentially.
Yeah, and don't forget we still have R.J. McIntosh as well, who hasn't played
Hill.
much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
B.J. Hill. Because B.J. Hill was a starter before we acquired Leonard Williams.
Yeah.
Once we got Leonard Williams, Hill went to the bench. So more of a rotational piece, but he'll be a starter next year most likely.
Mm-hmm.
The other move I want to discuss is the Giants signing wide receiver John Ross to a 1-year, $2.5 million deal. And what was really crazy, this move happened instantly after
only a couple of minutes afterwards.
Leonard Williams. So this tells me that John Ross was probably in the Giants' plans before this Leonard Williams thing happened because they literally did it right away, which means that Leonard Williams was what was taking the Giants so long to come out and make these types of moves. A little backlog on John Ross. So he only gets $1 million in guaranteed money for this year. He's the former number 9 overall pick in the 2017 draft, coming off his rookie contract with the Bengals. He ran a 4.22 40-yard dash, which is impressive, and he can be a legitimate deep threat for Daniel Jones. I view this as a low-risk, high-reward, a good value signing with only that $1 million guaranteed. I know I was a little bit taken back at first when you texted me about it in the group chat today, but the more you think about it, it's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily hurt them at all. It was just in terms of where you choose to allocate your cap, the limited space that you have to sign a guy that didn't pan out with the Bengals, which is kind of quite surprising considering that I would think that he'd be a benefactor because of how many offensive weapons they have in that system between Tyler Boyd, AJ Green. You would think that he would be a beneficiary in that offense. He just wasn't. He was never able to stay healthy. I think he had 10 career touchdowns with them, only 50-something receptions and about 700 yards, I believe.
Yep.
So never really panned out. I think Zach Taylor last season just completely took him out of the offense to the point where you knew he was gone. And the Giants end up with him. Agree with the fact that he could be a speedster straight off the line of scrimmage and be a deep threat for Daniel Jones. I would have liked to seen that money maybe go towards someone else. But again, it's a low risk, high reward type of signing that you can't necessarily complain with.
A lot of people are saying the Giants are still in the mix for guys like Kenny Golladay and Curtis Samuel. I'm not so sure now. I would have preferred to go on the route of getting a guy like a Curtis Samuel and then drafting a receiver at 11, as where Golladay would kind of cripple us in free agency. We wouldn't be able to fill in other needs, which, I don't think we're getting Galladay, but I wouldn't be shocked if they pulled it off. I just don't think we're going to do that. But back to Ross, very injury-prone player, as you mentioned. In 2019, he had 28 catches for over 500 yards and 3 touchdowns in just 8 games.
Yeah.
Speed goes a long way.
I think that was the Seattle game, if you remember, where he just absolutely took over.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that was the game that really boosted those stats we're looking at right now in the 2019 season.
And then in 2018, he had 7 touchdowns. He had 7 touchdowns in 2018.
Yeah.
So, a fun fact I want to bring up: he played with Dante Pettis in college
at Washington. Yeah.
In 2016, John Ross had over 1,100 yards and 17 touchdowns. Dante Pettis had 15. So there's that.
Listen, hopefully Joe Judge can, work something, give Jason Garrett to work with offensively, as we know, and can only hope that this will not be the finished product on offense. But again, it's something to look forward to in the sense that maybe you have a faster receiver down the line, because I know that Darius Slayton was kind of that guy, but now having a really, really true speedster type of receiver, if he can stay healthy, he'll definitely be a weapon on this offense, and hopefully can scheme pretty nicely under Jason Garrett.
It'll be interesting to see how Jason Garrett uses Ross in his offensive scheme, because the Giants have been criticized for not taking many deep shots over the past year or so. So hopefully the addition of him will help that. But Kyle, I feel like we touched upon everything that we wanted to discuss. Is there anything else you think we should implement here?
No, I mean, we're only within the first couple of days of free agency. I know you released some videos upon some of the other Giants moves in which they've made, and as the days progress, we're probably only going to see more as some of these lesser signings, under the radar type signings take underway. The Giants will definitely be in the market, as the cap is a problem, but it can only help them in a situation where we've seen that these higher market players aren't necessarily getting the type of money that they were demanding, or the market value was to be seen once we hit this free agency period.
I definitely agree with that. So the Giants are entering the league year will start tomorrow. So let's see if the Giants make any more moves. But until then, if you like what you hear, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, smash the like button. Thank you, everybody, for watching.